thought I had found the man of my life. At 26, working as a marketing coordinator, I felt ready to take the biggest step of my relationship with Marcus. After 2 years together, I was planning the perfect proposal. I had everything figured out. The Tiffany diamond ring, the reservation at our favorite restaurant, even the exact words I would say. I was so excited about our future together, believing we shared the same dreams about marriage and building a life side by side. But sometimes life has a way of showing you the truth before you make the biggest mistake of your life. Before I tell you this story, please let me know where you are watching from. Do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe to not miss stories that will touch your heart. Because what I am about to share will make you understand why sometimes we need to listen carefully before we act, and why the most painful discoveries can become the greatest blessings in disguise. Marcus and I had what I thought was a beautiful relationship. He was a sales manager at a luxury car dealership, 28 years old, with this infectious laugh and a way of making me feel like the most important person in the room. We met through a dating app 2 years ago, and our first date at Chez Laurent was magical. He was charming, attentive, and seemed genuinely interested in building something real together. We moved in together 8 months ago, splitting everything 50-50, and I thought we were perfect partners. Marcus often talked about the future in ways that made my heart skip. He would say things like, "When we get married," and "I cannot imagine my life without you." These comments filled me with hope and made me believe he was just waiting for the right moment to propose. When he did not, I decided to take matters into my own hands. My best friend Sarah encouraged me, saying, "Go after your happiness, Juliana. Modern women do not have to wait around." So I saved up $8,000 for a beautiful Tiffany engagement ring. I made reservations at Chez Laurent for the coming Sunday evening, planning to recreate our first date magic. I pictured his surprised face, his joy, the way he would sweep me into his arms and tell me yes. Sarah helped me plan every detail, from what I would wear to exactly how I would get down on one knee. I felt so confident because Marcus had always been affectionate and supportive. He told me constantly that he loved me, that I was his everything. The week before my planned proposal, I was practically glowing with excitement. I could barely focus at work, constantly checking my phone to see if Marcus had texted something sweet. I would catch myself staring at the ring box hidden in my dresser drawer, imagining how it would look on his finger. Everything felt perfect, like all the pieces of my life were finally falling into place. That Friday afternoon changed everything. I left work early to prepare for the weekend, wanting to make sure everything was perfect for Sunday night. When I walked into our apartment around 4:30 p.m., I heard Marcus talking loudly in the living room. He was playing his usual online game with his buddies, Tyler, Jake, and Brandon. They had been friends since college and played together every Friday afternoon. I was about to call out and say hello when I noticed Marcus had left his wireless headset on the kitchen counter. The audio was still connected, and I could hear every word of their conversation through the speakers. At first, I almost turned it off to give him privacy, but something made me pause. Maybe it was intuition, or maybe I just got distracted by Tyler asking Marcus about his relationship status. "Yeah, man, still with Juliana. 2 years now?" Marcus replied in his usual casual tone. Nothing seemed unusual about this response. Jake chimed in with his typical joking manner. "When you gonna put a ring on it?" I felt my cheeks warm with anticipation, curious to hear how Marcus would respond to questions about marriage. Then Marcus laughed, but it was different from his usual warm laugh. It sounded colder, more calculated. "Funny you mention that," he said, and I could hear the change in his voice even through the speakers. Brandon asked what he meant, and Marcus continued, "She has been dropping hints about marriage lately. Heavy hints." My heart started beating faster, but not with excitement. Something in his tone made me feel uneasy. When Jake asked about his plans, Marcus's response made my blood run cold. "Here is the thing. I think she is gonna propose to me soon. The way he said it was not happy or romantic. It sounded almost annoyed. The entire group burst into laughter, and I heard Tyler ask in disbelief, "Wait, she is gonna propose to you?" Marcus confirmed it casually. "Yeah, I found the ring receipt in her purse last week. 8 grand. Can you believe that?" My legs felt weak. He had been going through my personal things, and worse, he was discussing our private life with his friends in a way that felt mocking. Jake tried to be positive, saying, "Dude, that is actually kind of cool. Modern women, right?" But Marcus's response shattered something inside me. His voice turned completely cold as he said, "Cool, it is desperate. Who wants a girl that desperate?" I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. The man I loved, the man I was planning to propose to in 2 days, had just called me desperate to his friends. I gripped the kitchen counter to steady myself, wondering if I had misunderstood something. Maybe he was just nervous. Maybe guys talk differently when they are with their friends. Brandon asked the question that would destroy everything I thought I knew about Marcus. "So, what you gonna do when she pops the question?" Marcus's answer came without hesitation, and it was delivered with such casual cruelty that I almost could not believe what I was hearing. "I am gonna play along, obviously. Let her have her moment." There was something sinister in the way he said it, like he was planning something terrible. My hands started shaking as I continued listening, hoping against hope that he meant something innocent. But Tyler pushed for more details, and what Marcus said next would haunt me forever. Tyler asked what Marcus meant by play along, and his response revealed a level of cruelty I never knew existed in the man I loved. His voice carried a tone I had never heard before, calculated and cold. I mean, I will say, yes, let her think we are engaged for a while. Jake pressed for more information, asking, "Then what?" Marcus laughed loudly, and it was a sound I will never forget. It was harsh, mean-spirited, completely different from the warm laughter I had fallen in love with. "Then I will dump her ass, brutally, after she has told everyone bought the dress, maybe even sent out save the dates." The entire group erupted in laughter, and I heard Brandon say admiringly, "Dude, that is savage." Marcus seemed to feed off their approval, his voice becoming more animated and cruel. "She deserves it. 2 years of her trying to change me, nagging about commitment. Time to teach her a lesson about knowing her place." I slid down the kitchen cabinet until I was sitting on the floor, my whole body trembling. The man I had been planning to spend my life with was plotting to humiliate me in the most devastating way possible. This was not just rejection. This was a calculated plan to destroy me emotionally. Tyler asked how long Marcus planned to let the fake engagement continue, and Marcus had already thought it through completely. "Maybe 2, 3 months. Long enough for her to get really attached to the idea." He described his plan in horrifying detail. "I will be the perfect fiancé. Help plan the wedding, meet her parents officially, the whole 9 yards." Jake asked, "Then boom, pull the rug out." And Marcus confirmed with enthusiasm, "Exactly. I will tell her I realized I cannot marry someone so beneath me. Professionally, socially, you know." The way he said beneath me made my stomach turn. This was the man who claimed to love me talking about me like I was some inferior being. Brandon asked about the ring money, and Marcus's response showed just how heartless he really was. "Not my problem. She bought it, she can keep it as a reminder not to overstep next time." They all laughed even harder at this, like my financial sacrifice was just a joke to them. But the worst was yet to come. Tyler asked why Marcus was even with me if he felt this way, and his answer revealed the depth of his deception. "Convenient. Good cook cleans the apartment, pays half the bills. Plus, she is decent looking." He was describing me like I was some kind of live-in maid with benefits, not the woman he claimed to love? Jake asked if he did not consider me marriage material, and Marcus's response cut deeper than anything else. Hell no. You have seen where she came from. Community college works in marketing for some small company. My family would die of embarrassment. For the first time, Marcus started talking about his real background. I learned that his family was wealthy, that his father owned 3 luxury car dealerships, and that Marcus had a trust fund he had never mentioned to me. Brandon asked if I knew about the trust fund, and Marcus laughed. Of course not. Let her think I am just a regular sales guy. When I dump her, I will tell her the truth that I was always out of her league. The final blow came when Marcus said, "This is gonna be legendary, guys. I cannot wait to see her face." They were all laughing like my upcoming humiliation was entertainment for them. I realized I was not just dealing with a cruel boyfriend. I was dealing with someone who took pleasure in planning to hurt me. Sitting on that kitchen floor, listening to the man I loved describe his plan to destroy me. Something inside me changed forever. The heartbreak was overwhelming, but underneath it, a different feeling was growing. Anger, determination, the realization that I was not going to be anyone's victim. I had stumbled upon this conversation 2 days before I was supposed to propose. 2 days before, I would have walked directly into his trap. Instead of feeling grateful for this horrible discovery, I felt something else entirely. I felt powerful. Marcus thought he was playing me, but he had just given me all the information I needed to turn his own game against him. I sat on that kitchen floor for what felt like hours, but it was probably only minutes. The conversation was still going on, but I had heard enough. My entire body was shaking, not just from heartbreak, but from pure rage. The man I had been planning to build a life with had just revealed himself to be a monster. But as the initial shock wore off, something else took over. Clarity. I realized that I had just been saved from making the biggest mistake of my life. Marcus thought he was so clever planning to humiliate me months down the road, but he had no idea that I now held all the cards. I quietly made my way to the bedroom and called Sarah. When she answered, I could barely speak through my tears, but I managed to tell her everything I had just heard. Sarah was furious, ready to drive over immediately and confront Marcus herself. But I stopped her. No, Sarah. I have a better idea. I am going to beat him at his own game. Over the next few hours, while Marcus was still gaming with his friends, oblivious to what I had discovered, I began researching. I looked up his family online and found exactly what he had described. His father owned multiple luxury car dealerships, and the family was clearly wealthy. I found photos of Marcus at fancy events wearing expensive suits I had never seen before. I called a lawyer friend about protecting my assets, particularly since my name was the only one on our apartment lease. I started recording our conversations on my phone, catching Marcus in several more calls with his friends, where he continued to mock me and elaborate on his cruel plan. I discovered that this was not Marcus's first time manipulating someone. Through social media, I found 2 of his ex-girlfriends, and when I carefully reached out to them, I learned that he had a pattern of emotional abuse and manipulation. One of them told me that Marcus had convinced her to loan him money, then disappeared from her life completely. Another said he had cheated on her while making her believe she was paranoid and jealous. But instead of confronting Marcus with any of this information, I decided to let him continue with his plan. I would go through with the proposal exactly as I had intended, let him think his manipulation was working perfectly. Then, when he least expected it, I would reveal that I knew everything. Sunday evening arrived, and I played my part perfectly. I dressed in the beautiful navy dress I had chosen weeks earlier, did my hair exactly how Marcus liked it, and met him at Chez Laurent with the engagement ring in my purse. The proposal went exactly as I had planned, except now it felt like I was performing in a play. I got down on one knee in the same restaurant where we had our first date in front of all the other diners and asked Marcus to marry me. His acting was flawless. He looked surprised, touched, and overjoyed. He said yes with tears in his eyes, kissed me passionately, and let everyone in the restaurant applaud our moment. Watching him perform fake emotions so convincingly was both heartbreaking and enlightening. I realized how many times he had probably lied to my face with that same sincere expression. Other diners came over to congratulate us, the waitstaff brought us champagne, and Marcus played the role of the surprised but delighted fiancé perfectly. We took photos that he immediately posted on social media, writing a caption about being the luckiest man in the world. Within minutes, his phone was buzzing with congratulations from friends and family. I watched him text his gaming buddies, "Phase 1 complete. She actually did it." For the next 2 days, Marcus was the most attentive fiancé anyone could ask for. He talked excitedly about wedding plans, mentioned wanting to tell his parents in person, and suggested we start looking at venues. He held my hand, constantly brought me flowers, and told everyone we met about our engagement. But I was recording everything. I captured him on the phone with Tyler saying, "She is so clueless, already talking about the honeymoon." I recorded him telling Jake, "2 more months of this, and then boom, it will be beautiful." Every cruel comment, every mocking laugh, every detail of his plan to humiliate me, all captured clearly on my phone. Tuesday evening, I put my own plan into action. While Marcus was at work, I packed all of my belongings and moved them to a new apartment I had rented under just my name. I had already changed the locks on our current apartment since only my name was on the lease. I changed my phone number and blocked Marcus on all social media platforms. Then, I sent a carefully crafted email to several important people in Marcus's life. His parents received a message with copies of all the recordings, along with screenshots of his social media posts about our engagement. His boss at the luxury car dealership received the same package with a note, explaining that I thought they should know about his character. All of our mutual friends received detailed explanations of what I had discovered with audio evidence. Finally, I posted on my own social media accounts explaining that I had discovered my fiancé's plan to brutally dump me after letting me plan our entire wedding. I included key quotes from the recordings and thanked everyone for their support during this difficult time. I left printed transcripts of all his conversations on our coffee table along with the engagement ring. Then I walked out of that apartment and never looked back. Marcus returned home from work that Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. to find an empty apartment and the evidence of his cruelty laid out on the coffee table. I can only imagine his shock as he read through the transcripts of his own words, realizing that every cruel plan, every mocking comment, every detail of his scheme had been captured and exposed. He tried calling me immediately, but of course, my number was disconnected. I had anticipated his every move because I knew him better than he thought I did. Within an hour of him finding the empty apartment, his phone started ringing with calls from people who had received my emails. His father called first, and I heard later from mutual friends that the conversation was explosive. "What the hell is this about? Planning to brutally dump your fiancé?" his father had demanded. Marcus tried to claim the recordings were taken out of context, that it was just joking around with his friends, but the evidence was too clear and too detailed. His parents were not just disappointed, they were mortified. Their social circle now knew that their son was capable of this level of emotional cruelty. His mother called him crying, asking how they had raised someone who could plan to humiliate a woman who loved him. Most devastating of all, they threatened to cut off his trust fund access if this was how he treated people. His boss at the dealership called that same evening expressing serious concerns about professionalism and character after hearing the recordings. In an industry built on trust and relationships, having evidence of such manipulative behavior was potentially career damaging. Several major clients had heard about the situation through social connections, and the dealership could not afford to have their reputation damaged. All of our mutual friends began confronting Marcus with the evidence I had provided. People who had congratulated him on the engagement just days earlier were now asking how he could have planned something so cruel. His social media posts about being the luckiest man in the world were now being screenshot and shared as examples of his deception. But the most satisfying part of my plan unfolded the following evening. Marcus somehow found my new address, probably through one of his remaining friends who still spoke to him. Around 8 p.m., I heard someone calling through the building's intercom system. "Juliana, please. I can explain everything." It was just guy talk. I did not mean any of it. His voice was desperate, panicked, completely different from the confident, cruel tone I had heard in those recordings. "My parents are furious. My job is in jeopardy. Please, we can work this out." I calmly pressed the intercom button and spoke clearly so he could hear me. "Marcus, I heard your true feelings in your own words. You called me desperate, said I was beneath you, and planned to humiliate me for months. There is nothing left to discuss." But he kept going, becoming more frantic by the minute. "I love you. I really wanted to marry you. The guys pressured me into saying those things. You know how guys talk when they are together." The desperation in his voice was almost pathetic. This was the same person who had laughed about not being able to wait to see my face when he destroyed me. Other residents in the building started complaining about the noise, and eventually building security had to remove him from the property. He kept shouting that he could change, that he would do anything to fix things. But I knew better. I had heard his real thoughts, his real feelings, and his real character when he thought no one was listening. The weeks that followed were a journey of healing I never expected. Initially, there was pain, of course. 2 years of my life had been built on lies, and that was devastating to accept. But underneath the hurt was something much stronger: relief and empowerment. The support I received was overwhelming. Friends, family members, even strangers who saw my social media posts reached out with encouragement and similar stories. I realized how many people had experienced manipulation and emotional abuse, and how rare it was for someone to have concrete evidence like I did. I returned the engagement ring for a full refund and used the money for something Marcus had always discouraged: a solo trip to Europe. He had always made excuses about why we could not afford to travel, why it was not practical, why we should save money for more important things. Now I understood that he never wanted me to become more independent or confident. That trip changed my perspective on everything. I visited museums, tried new foods, met kind and genuine people who appreciated my authentic self without trying to change or control me. I realized how much of myself I had been suppressing to fit into Marcus's idea of who I should be. 6 months later, my life looked completely different. I received a promotion at work, partly because I was no longer distracted by relationship drama, and partly because I had gained confidence in advocating for myself. I moved into a beautiful apartment that I chose and decorated entirely according to my own taste. Most importantly, I had learned to trust my instincts and value myself enough to walk away from toxic situations. Sometimes people ask me if I regret the way I handled the situation, if I wish I had just confronted Marcus directly instead of planning such an elaborate revelation. But I know that if I had simply talked to him about what I overheard, he would have found a way to manipulate me back into the relationship. He would have claimed it was all a misunderstanding, that he was just venting to his friends, that he really did love me. By documenting everything and exposing his true character to his family, friends, and employer, I ensured that he could not simply lie his way out of the consequences. More importantly, I protected other women who might have become his next victims. I used to think love meant fighting for someone, no matter what, accepting their flaws, and always giving second chances. Now I know that real love means someone would never make you fight for basic respect in the first place. Real love does not involve cruelty, manipulation, or elaborate schemes to cause pain. Sometimes the worst thing that almost happens to you becomes the best thing that never did. If I had not overheard that conversation, I would have spent months planning a wedding to someone who was planning to destroy me. Instead, I discovered my own strength, learned to value myself properly, and opened up space in my life for genuine love and happiness. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to listen carefully, trust what you hear, and then walk away with dignity intact. I hope my story reminds you to always trust your instincts and never settle for someone who does not respect you completely. Have you ever discovered something that completely changed how you saw someone? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and do not forget to like this video if my story resonated with you. Subscribe for more real-life stories that remind us of our own strength, and share this with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that you deserve love that builds you up, never tears you down. Until next time, trust yourself and choose happiness.